Today is October 21st, 2017, and we are at the Community Media Center in Westminster, Maryland. And I'm Gary Livengood interviewing Lee Bartnik from Hampstead relative to his military experience. What war did you serve in, Mr. Bartnik?
Vietnam.
Vietnam. And the branch of service?
Army.
And what was your rank while you were there?
The tail end, I was Sergeant E5.
And how did you end up in Vietnam? Were you drafted?
Yes, I got drafted. Back in those days, they had, if you were married, had kids, they had to sign papers to the draft board every couple of months that you were still living together with your wife. I wasn't living with my wife. I signed the papers that I was. Unfortunately, my mother-in-law and the draft board person were friends. The next thing I know, I got some cops at the front door saying, "You're going down to the draft board." And seen her on Monday, says, "You got till Friday, get your stuff together, and be here Friday morning."
Do you recall what it was like when you were in basic training?
Yeah, basic was basically really getting yourself in shape. It's, it's a lot of running, a lot of PT. We were still using M14s with the rifle range, and then we didn't have M16s there. And went to Fort Bragg. Typical whatever you see on TV type of thing. You know, run in, run here, run there, run someplace else, eat your food quickly. And
this was at Bragg?
It was at Bragg.
And did you take AIT training?
Yeah, unfortunately, myself and a couple other good friends of mine all got picked for 11 bead MOS. And instead of getting to come home after basic training, shipped us right down to Fort Polk, Louisiana, to Tigerland, and spent 8 weeks there. And that was probably one of the most depressing days of your life, was riding into Fort Polk. That was a bad place.
What made it so bad?
Just the regiment. Those guys, their job was to get you ready for Vietnam. And in fact, the first assembly we had, the night that we flew in there on a Sunday night, had a young buck lieutenant just back from Vietnam with his spit-polished boots and his medals, et cetera, et cetera. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what you think. You're going to do 8 weeks here. You're going to a couple weeks off, and you're going to be in Vietnam. If you want to stay alive, learn what we're teaching. And I'll say this, by the time I got out of Fort Polk, I was in the best shape of my life. I mean, them people run us to death, low-crawled us to death, but they did what they were supposed to do in getting us physically ready for what we were ready to go to.
And when did you go to Nam?
I went to Nam in February 24th of 1968. That
was shortly after the Tet Offensive?
Right after Tet, yeah. What they had done, they must have known something was happening, because after the Christmas holiday, we went up to Fort Lewis, Washington, and they had assembled almost 3,000 infantry guys up there, and they shipped everybody at the same time. Again, this is someplace where I deviated a little bit because they didn't have anything for us to do up at Fort Lewis. So as long as we could show them airfare home and back, they give us a week off, a week leave. I no sooner got home, my mother says, "They're called, want you to come back." I said, "I ain't going back. No damn way. I got a piece of paper here that says I'll stay here for a week." So long story short, when I went back, they had already shipped out, because then I was assigned to the 198th Light Infantry Brigade originally. When I got over to Vietnam, I stayed in a holding company up in Fort Lewis, Washington for about a month. Just kept us in a holding company. They didn't have anything for us to do. They give us bus tickets to go and get lost. Don't come back till dinner time and that type of thing. So anyway, February 24th, they shipped us, maybe about 10 of us that were in that holding company, over to Vietnam. When I got to Vietnam, I got switched from the 198th Light Brigade to the 196th, because the 196th had been in so much action, they had lost so many people, that they were taking whatever infantry recruits were coming in and feeding them to the 196th.
Where were you stationed in Nam?
In the jungle.
In the jungle. What corps?
I Corps.
I Corps. And do you, recall your first experiences or thoughts when you entered Vietnam?
Well, there was so much hype here in the United States about Vietnam. It was on TV every night and every magazine, how many dead are coming back, boom, boom, boom. I honestly thought, with all the hype, and also the same thing with the drill sergeants that we had in both basic and AIT, down at Fort Polk, all those guys had been to Vietnam. So they could pretty well tell you what to expect. I personally thought they were going to hand us weapons as we got off the airplane and you're going to start fighting. I mean, that's what I really thought, just all the hype. You know, you come in, getting close to going into Cam Ranh Bay, you said, well, when are they going to issue us weapons? But once you got down there, you found out that the big bases were protected so far out. It was really, if you had duty on Cam Ranh Bay, Da Nang, Chu Lai, any of the real big bases, it was like doing stateside duty.
And when did you first experience combat while you were in Vietnam?
Unfortunately, very quickly. The 196 was working up in I Corps, a place called Quy San Valley, and that was out west of Da Nang. And naturally back in that, it was very high infiltration of NVA soldiers. We never fought Viet Cong. Never fought Viet Cong.
They were more in the south?
In the south or in the flatlands. We worked the jungle the whole time I was there. Okay. So, I mean, it was get on a helicopter, go out, and the next thing you know, you're in the middle of the jungle. Start digging a foxhole, sleep in a hole at night.
What was well, I realize you were 11 Bravo, but did you have any particular assignment within the company or within the unit?
Yeah, stay alive and kill the little yellow man.
Okay.
That was my assignment. Stay alive, kill the little yellow guy.
So the 196 took a lot of casualties.
196 it was good from one standpoint, is the people that I was put in with were all experienced. Whereas if I would have stayed with the 198th, the 198th stayed around Chu Lai, and they were doing basically little patrols off Chu Lai, or maybe some of the big fire support bases out there. I know LZ Baldy was one of them, LZ Marianne, and a couple other ones. That the 198th didn't get right into the jungle phase of it. You know, they indoctrinated them with the heat and what they were up against. But that was mostly in the flat land. 196 was, you're in the jungle.
And do you recall any experiences while you were in the jungle? Anything that comes to mind?
Too many. Too many. The main thing I would say is what people don't understand about the infantry side of it is, and my wife brings, well, how'd you go to the bathroom? Okay? I mean, people don't understand that there's not a spotter pot every couple hundred meters, that you're going off the trail a little bit, you take your pants down, you're squatting, and that's it. I mean, people don't understand that. Same thing, the load that you carried is you were basically a pack mule if you were an infantry soldier in I Corps in the Americal Division. Basically, you start out with 3 days worth of food because we get resupplied every 3 days, and that was all World War II C rations at that time. But then we got 25 pounds of food. You got 5 or 6 canteens full of water. You got another 12, 15 pounds of water on your back. You got your personal gear, your helmet, your weapon, your say 400 to 600 rounds of M16 ammo. You got another 16, 20 pounds on you. Now you got to, every infantryman had to carry 200 rounds of M60 ammo. That's 8 pounds per 100 rounds. So you got another 16 pounds there. Then you got whatever else, claymore mines, hand grenades, smokes, you name it, shovel. By the time you got done, you're up over 100 pounds. And I mean, I always love watching the movies, and I see Sylvester Stallone and the rest of these guys running through the jungle with their rucksack on. You couldn't even pick the damn rucksack up. I mean, you had to slide yourself. I mean, I'm serious. You slid into the rucksack, and then you had somebody pull you up. You know, I mean, it's just, if you were there and did it, you just have to laugh at the things that you see.
How old were you when you were there?
24.
24. And obviously in good shape.
Well, by the time I got out of Polk, I remember being a friend of mine and picked up a girl that I was dating at that time, and I ran out of gas over off of 25th Street. We were going to a place called Sweeney's over there. I don't know if you know where it was, but it was a popular night spot. We ran out of gas. So I went up, ran about 2 miles to a gas station, got 5-gallon can and ran back. I mean, that's the kind of shape I was in. It wasn't like I was struggling. I was like, hey, this is a cakewalk, you know?
I understand that while you were serving in Vietnam, that you were awarded certain commendations. Could you comment on that?
Well, I got Silver Star. We walked into an ambush we were doing basically a combat sweep. And we had gone out as like 5 or 6 of us, guys in my squad. We walked into an ambush, had a couple of machine guns on us, a couple AK-47s. Pinned us down pretty good, shot one of my good buddies there, John Booth, caught a bullet in his butt, came out his knee. He was bleeding pretty bad. And he had 1 med pack with us, so bandaged up where he was bleeding the worst. And just left it up to him. I said, you want to wait till help gets here? You want me to get you out of here? He said, get me out. So picked him up and took off running. And it was just like you see in the movies. Bullets all over the place, whizzing by, but luckily it didn't hit either one of us. So we got out of that. The only thing I remember about it, we didn't have any cigarettes. Other than that, and again, this was nothing. I didn't think anything of this action, period. I was out of the Army and been out of the Army about 6 months, and I had some guy call me up and say, hey, you know you were awarded the Silver Star? And I said, what? Yeah, what? I was awarded the Silver Star? I didn't know anything about it. I mean, it was just something that I had seen other people do, and I probably did it once or twice other places, you know, with picking up people that were injured. I remember a guy's left arm was off. You know, pick up a left arm, throw it in his body bag. Mm-hmm. So a lot of bad things from that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Now, I understand that possibly you had a unique experience and you found yourself alone in a situation.
Yeah, well, that was probably the worst mental thing that hit me. I want to mention one other thing. The worst thing happened to me medically was falciparum malaria, because I had falciparum malaria and I really lost a lot of weight. And almost died with falciparum because they couldn't get me out of the field. That was probably the worst physical thing that happened to me. Mentally, the worst thing that happened to me was May 17th of '68. We were in a major encounter with NVA soldiers. We lost over 50 people in 14 hours of fighting. Not all dead, but wounded, dead. You know, you get to the back, bodies laying all over the place, body parts laying all over the place. And we were down to 1 man in a hole, and we were in like a semicircle. It just so happened I was in the outside hole, way out there. And I had heard when I crawled back and got some ammunition one time that we were going to leave. So I was waiting for somebody to say we're leaving. And while I'm out there in the hole, and here again, we got recoilless rifles on us, mortar rounds coming in. You have to, unless you live it, you can't explain it to people. I mean, there's stuff blowing up all over the place. And all of a sudden, all this artillery starts coming in, 4 different fire support bases. I'm still laying in that hole here. Boom, 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 boom. And zoom, zoom. Man, when's this going to stop? I mean, it just kept going. After a couple of hours, it just kept going. And I'm laying in this hole, and I'm bouncing up and down in a hole. Big chunks of shrapnel are hitting around me. I mean, big chunks. Boom. So anyway, finally that stopped. And I rolled over, lit up a cigarette, split the cigarette. I'm going to crawl back and find out what's going on. And I crawled back there with nobody there. They were gone. Now, you want to talk about somebody that luckily American movies save you in these kind of situations, because you've seen this happen in the movies 20 times, and you say to yourself, what should I do? What should I do? You know, and we had left all kind of ammo up there. I mean, when them guys left, they left everything up there. Hand grenades, bandoliers of ammo. I just grabbed maybe 3 or 4 bandoliers of M60 or M16 ammo, a couple hand grenades. The gooks were there, and Lee went that way. As quick as I could.
Now, how did you find your way back? Or how did you get
what happened
rescued?
was, this was night now, it was dark now, okay? And I mean, you got to figure, you know what hill looks like after all day fighting, airstrikes, artillery, man, big holes all over the place. I'm off the side of the hill, and I'm falling in holes, tripping over myself, getting up, falling down. Finally, I got down to the bottom of the hill where the jungle met. And I just couldn't find a trail, and I didn't want to make too much noise. So I just kept feeling around, you know, as I was walking, and finally I found a little spot that I could crawl up into to get back out, Now, Luckily, I don't think they knew I was there because I could hear them talking. And they were probably up there grabbing up all the goodies that we left for them up there. But I hope I didn't snore that night. That's the only thing I can tell you. I was crawled up under there. But I hadn't slept for 3 days. And then in the morning, I woke up to airstrikes coming in. There were airstrikes on one station up there, which actually woke me up. So I went outside the hill. There was a spotter plane up there. I took my T-shirt off, waved my T-shirt around. The guy changed the way the airstrikes were coming in, so I knew that he had seen me. And I crawled back up in a hole, far back in there as I could get, so nobody could shoot me in the back, and I could see out front, waiting for a helicopter to come get me. The helicopter never came. Next thing I know, about 3 hours, 4 hours later, here's somebody say, "Bartnik, is that you?" And I'm thinking, well, come on over and get me, guys. I'm the one. Well, come walk over here. Oh, you bums. I had to walk over to where they were. That was the most harrowing thing from a mental standpoint was that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that scared the crap out of you.
I realize, or you said that you had earned the Silver Star. Did you earn any other commendations?
Yeah, I got Purple Heart. I got shot 2 days after the Silver Star. I got shot got wounded, let's say, same place. But you know how back then they wanted body counts. Well, how many people did you kill up there? Well, how many people did you kill? Yeah, gunships were there. We had gunship blowing them up. We're shooting at them. I don't know. So anyway, had to go back to where that encounter happened, looking for bodies. And when we got up there, started throwing hand grenades, blowing up stuff, and I got some shrapnel in my chest. I still have 16 pieces in my chest now. I can't get in the MRI machine because the stuff moves around from place to place. Well, we can't put you in that MRI machine. It'll suck that.
Did you earn any other?
Bronze Star.
And for what was
that? Was just for service. They pretty well give everybody Bronze Stars.
Okay.
I was in country 12 months and about 27, 28 days.
And the majority of that time you were in
infantry the whole time.
Infantry the entire time. Away from base camp.
We weren't in no base camps.
You had no base camp.
We weren't in no base camps. The way the AmeriCal worked, we worked 60 days in the field, 3 days off. Was their regular schedule, unless you were in a major firefight of some type to where they couldn't get the helicopters in. You spent 60 days in the field, and I'm talking about in the field. In the field, you're digging a foxhole every night. They would basically resupply us every 3 days. Every 3 days, helicopters would come in, drop off, sea rations, ammo, whatever we might need. And then you spend dig a foxhole every night. Now, one thing, we walked up and down Queeson Valley so many times that in the end, we were using the same foxholes that we had dug before. There's no sense going to another hill. We left foxholes up there. We'll just go clean them out.
So your main foodstuffs for that 60-day period was sea rations.
That's all it was. That's all it was.
And after 60 days and your 3 days off, where did you spend the 3 days?
Okay, they would pick us up in a helicopter, however many guys were left. As you can see, sometimes 50, sometimes 80, however many guys were left. They fly us back to Chulai, and they had a dynamite set up there for us, per se. Had a food tent, had a beer tent, had entertainment starting at about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, all gook bands singing To Serve With Love. Was the only thing they do is To Serve With Love. You could pretty well go in there anytime. For the infantry guys, they really took good care of us at that time. Get your hair cut, get teeth fixed, whatever kind of problems you got. The one point I have to make is the difference between infantry guys, who in almost all cases were draftees. Very seldom do you have an infantry guy that had a RA prefix. Everybody was U.S., okay? And regular Army guys didn't like U.S. guys. I mean, I went to an Air Force NCO club. I was going on R&R, and I went to an Air Force NCO club, and the guy asked me for my, naturally I'm in jungle fatigues, don't have the insignias on you or anything. The guy asked me for my orders. I showed him to him. He says, "Oh, we don't serve U.S.'s in here." Well, he goes, "Don't do what?" Wouldn't serve U.S. So I had to go down to EM club. So I mean, that was really a kick in the That here we're the guys that are out there protecting them and fighting for them. This guy's tending a damn bar, working from 6 o'clock at night till 1 hour, and he can't serve me. And we had the same thing happen on one of the stand downs, which is what they called the 3 days off. They called it a stand down. Some of the guys went up to the PX to get some stuff. The MPs wouldn't let them in the PX because their boots weren't shined. True story. True story. Couldn't get in the PX because their boots weren't. Now, the captain of the company made a big deal about that. And they opened the PX up the next day about 2 or 3 hours early so our guys could get in there. But that was the difference between REMPs, and you know what a REMP is, rear echelon mother. So a REMP versus the guys who are actually physically doing the fighting. I mean, these guys, I went to a DAV place, see what kind of benefits I could get. And guys just walking around showing me, he said, hey, did you ever bowl in the bowling alley I built in Da Nang? I said, bowling alley? I said, I wasn't there. Where do bowling alleys were? Oh, he says, oh, you were one of them. One of them. I'm one of, you feel like grab the guy.
But statistically, of the soldiers that were there, only 10% of them or so were actually in combat. The rest seemed to be support.
Well, I think that's kind of what the number is one combat soldier to 30 support. Yeah. Okay? I mean, the other big fallacy that I'd have to put in for my time in Vietnam, my time, 67, 68, when I got back home, and I started hearing all these stories about how, I'm going to interject race into how blacks had done an improportionate amount of fighting. I ain't seen a black in the company yet. It was all white. And this is 67, 68. I ain't saying not about any time later. Maybe 1, maybe 2 out of 100, but no. It was all, the military loves all them guys from the Southwest. There's more guys from the Southwest than the infantry. The Carters got little liver pills.
Why is that?
Probably because of their upbringing, probably. I mean, the guys in the city are used to bebopping or doing this, that, and that. And the guys in the country are, hey, let's go out and dig a hole and sleep in it tonight. Kind of different mentality.
While you were there, did you ever get to visit Vung Tau?
No, we didn't get no time. Then here's the other thing. You get the Bob Hope show, big Bob Hope show, to show all the people at the Bob Hope show. 2 guys from our infantry company went to that. 2 guys, and they were both officers. No draftees, no infantrymen, no guys that are out doing the fighting. And this is true. I mean, 2 guys went, and they're both officers. No USs. I mean, this is my opinion of the way that war went. Is we were basically, I mean, you have to remember where we work. We worked the jungle. I mean, I showed you the map. There's nothing there. We're in the jungle. And you would take and get back into the rear sections. And a lot of those guys, it was like working a stateside job, 9 to 5. Boom, get off, go swimming, play tennis, go to the EM club, get messed up, And we were just the opposite. My wife had asked me a couple times about people doing drugs. You don't do drugs when you're in the field. There ain't no damn way you're doing drugs. Because the guy that's with you, he can make sure you don't do it. Plus, there's no way to get them anyway. But there's so many funny little things about Vietnam that's just people don't understand. Infantrymen didn't wear underwear. You know why?
Why is that? Because
the underwear would get wet, wouldn't dry, and you'd get jungle rot down there. So you would get a slit in your pants, buddy. Your butt's hanging out. There ain't nothing there to protect it. And 196th Light Infantry Brigade, when I was with them, we got clean clothes every Friday. Every Friday they bring out a whole bundle. You don't look for sizes. Oh, does this fit? Oh, that don't fit. I don't want that. You just pick a pair of pants, you put the damn thing on, be glad you got it. The 11th Light Brigade, they wouldn't give you new clothes unless the old ones wore off. Ooh. Swear to God.
What size of, you're in the jungle all the time. Is this company size?
Yeah, we were company. We were company size the whole time. Our infantry, what they would refer to as an infantry line company. Basically, supposed to be around 120 guys, but that fluctuated very extensively, and basically broke down to squads. You basically spent the year with 9 guys, but it was a revolving 9 guys. You never got to know anybody. Some guys get shot, get wounded, get something in 2 days. You didn't really get to really know anybody, at least from my experience.
And you experienced this for a year's period of time.
The only relief I got was when I had falciparum malaria, okay, because I got to be in the hospital with cold mats. And luckily I had a little nurse there, and it shot me up all the time. Because, I don't know if you've ever been on cold mats, but you lay there as long as you can take it. There's a cold mat on your stomach, there's a cold mat on your back. You lay there as long as you can take it. Then you roll over to your side. Then you take it as long as you can. Then you roll back. And you do this for about 10 days, just in and out of consciousness, I guess. And I had lost a considerable amount of weight, which brings another Army story, which I love. Is I had to go down after they got rid of the falciparum. I had to go down Cameron Bay to 95th Medevac. I had to gain like 20 pounds for them to put me back out in the field. I had to weigh like 160 or something for it. The way you love the Army, you go in the chow hall, and I'm in the skinny guy line. They're pawing us up, boom, boom, boom. I swear to God, 10 feet away, they had the fat boy line. You gotta love the Army. You gotta love them. It's so funny. We're still piling up. You can't leave till you eat that. You can't leave. These poor guys are getting a carrot and a piece of celery. I always look back at that. I said, this is so damn funny. It's just so funny how they do it. And I know they don't even do it consciously,
How long did it take you to gain the weight to get back out in the field?
Probably about another 3 weeks or so, 3-4 weeks. Yeah, 3-4 weeks.
While you were there, did you get R&R?
Yeah, I did get R&R. I waited till November. Went to Hawaii, and I had the good fortune. I had the good fortune of getting malaria in Hawaii. I got Vivax. Okay, I got off the airplane, and I knew I had it because I'd had falciparum before, so I knew what it was. And next thing I know, I'm up in Tripler General Hospital with Vivax malaria. And I told him, hey man, I'm on R&R. I can't spend my R&R. He said, don't worry about it, we'll take care of you. He said, we'll give you 30 days. I got 30 days in Hawaii. The only problem was I have no money. Couldn't do nothing. I didn't have any money. I went down to Red Cross and asked them if I could borrow some money. I never got any money out of them. I would walk out of guys. I said, I'll never give any money to the Red Cross, you jerk. Couldn't even give me $10. But they set me up with Tripler General Hospital, and I was at, what the hell is that fort there? Fort DeRussy, maybe? I think it is Fort DeRussy, I think. But I was right on the beach, a little place right on the beach.
Well, nobody's shooting at you there.
No, great. Give me malaria again.
Now, have you gotten over the malaria?
No, I had one attack since I come home. One really bad attack. And this was maybe 2 years, 3 years afterwards, is I couldn't walk. And my wife, she would call and take me around. We were going to all the hospitals trying to find out. I knew what malaria was. Fast you put the water in, comes out your butt yellow. And you're weak as hell, can't move. And we're going around all different. Well, we don't treat malaria, and I'm laying on the floor because I couldn't even walk anywhere. We wound up at Bressler Research Center, University of Maryland Bressler Research Center down in Baltimore, and they were treating inmates with giving them malaria. So I went down there and they gave me some pills, and maybe 3 hours, 4 hours later, I was okay. But that's the only real instance of that I've had.
And when did you come back from Nam?
I came back end of March in '69.
'69. And when were you discharged?
I discharged right then.
Oh, right then.
Yeah, I stayed up in, I stayed in Vietnam. They had the 150-day early out. So I stayed in Vietnam until I had less than 150 days left. And they got me out of the Army from Fort Lewis, Washington.
And how did you fit into society after that? What did you do?
Phew, I ain't fit in society today. Society.
Well, let me rephrase that.
Society's gone a different place than where I am, to tell you the truth. I say this, that I had my discharge papers, had my sergeants, didn't have no medals because I didn't even know I had the medals yet, never been awarded them. And I'll come back through, had like a 2-hour stay over in Chicago to get to Baltimore. And I'm in there with my stripes. I couldn't buy a beer in Chicago. People lining beers up in front of me. When I walked out of that bar to get to, I had 6 beers with me. I have a handful of beer. The woman said, "You can't bring it on a plane." I couldn't be treated any better than I was in Chicago.
Oh, outstanding.
I mean, it wasn't a parade, wasn't nothing else, but couldn't be it. Now, my brother experienced just the opposite. My mother's the only one who had three sons in Vietnam at the same time. I was in the infantry. My brother, Richard, was a Cobra pilot. And my brother, Alan, was on the Kearsarge, the aircraft carrier that caught on fire. And when he came out of in California, people were spitting on him out there. That didn't happen to me, unfortunately.
Well, what line of work did you get into once you got out of the service?
Really, I got lucky. I had worked at the same place for 6 years before I went into service, a place called C.R. Daniels up in Howard County, who were manufacturers of canvas products for the military. And I wasn't going to go back there. So I got hooked up with a startup company called Concord Fibers that manufactures synthetic fiber yarn. Again, I started out with them at ground floor, and in the tail end of it, I wound up being production manager there. Had about 120 people working for me, but with me. And unfortunately, they picked up stakes and went to South Carolina, and I didn't go with them. A good story about that was I was on vacation, and I got put this in. This is for my wife, but I went on vacation. First year I worked at Concord, and I come back. And I was sitting at my desk that morning, and I'm talking about this woman walked down that hall. And I thought, what the hell is that? And I've never seen nothing look that good in my life. Swear to God, and this woman had it all, brother. I mean, legs, mini skirts were in. She'll kill me for saying this, but I didn't even know what she looked like facially for a month. I kept looking at them legs. I were having lunch one time, and I told her, I said, she got up and said, "Oh, that's that girl." Now, we've been together for 47 years, but man, I tell you what, something else.
Well, she must appreciate that story.
I'll tell you, who's unreal.
Now, did you have a family?
I had 2 kids before I went to Vietnam, yeah.
Okay. What kinds of, was it difficult fitting back in to a regular job after your experiences?
I gotta say, they're naturally, Vietnam affects you in a lot of ways, okay? As far as work, I'm the oldest of 7 children. We were brought up as workaholics, okay? My mother and father put everybody but me through college. I was like the rebel, didn't want to go to college. And yeah, I've done pretty well. But on the backside of it, I worked 3 jobs. I worked a regular job at C.R. Daniels, say 8 to 4. I worked at A.D. Anderson as an auto mechanic from 5 o'clock at night till 10, doing repairs on cars. And then I had a morning paper route that I had from the time I was 12 to 22. I used to keep quitting the paper route. I kept waking up in the morning at 3 o'clock. So I might as well be out making a couple of bucks. And because his name was Mr. Grimm. I call Miss Grimm. "Hey, Miss Grimm, you got anybody for that?" "Oh, no, come on back, Lee." So that's how I bought my first house, was worked 3 jobs for about 9 months. Got some money together, bought my first house. But as far as fitting in with society, the people that I ran around with socially weren't your run-of-the-mill college types, okay? And in fact, there's another, I'd ridden motorcycles for many a year, and when I came back, motorcycles were really in, because Honda had come out with that electric starter, where people didn't have to kick it and all that, you know, so quite a few people got into motors. I had a good friend of mine named Lyle Martin, who was an organizer. He was the ultimate organizer. We started this motorcycle club called the Americans. Okay, they were ex-service people. I was ex-service people, and God, yeah, this guy. He was a great guy to be with. But he comes up in these red and white striped shirts with a blue vest with stars on it, and we go to these motorcycle meets. And the only thing made all the other we were tougher than they were. We beat the pagans up so many times. I can't tell you. We used to go places just to run into them. You know, it was funny. You had to live it. You had to live it to understand it. And we were just talking about this the other day. My first date with my wife, when I first dated her, I took her to a place called the TikTok, which is down in Daniels, Maryland, little hillbilly bar. And again, no lie on this. We got stuck. We were on my motorcycle, got off, opened the door up, and I swear to God, a fight came right out the door. This was my first date with my wife. A fight comes up. She says, "What's that?" She's for fine, you know. She's just total opposite. I push her in. Come on. Next thing I know, there's some girl there with blood all over her face. Like, look. Now, drink your drink. Nah, we were. I don't know how to say that. Now, we were really good people to be with. Service didn't make any difference. Most of the people I ran with were ex-service anyway. You know, just weren't in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, that was the difference. But as far as, I don't know, it keeps you detached, I guess. You know, you don't have too much to talk to people about, you know, in general sense. And I know from sleeping standpoint that even today, I mean, I totally wreck a bed when I sleep at night. I ain't saying I had nightmares. I mean, I go back to Vietnam once in a while. Once in a while, I'm back here mentally in my sleep. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I totally wreck a bed.
Do you stay active in, let's say, social organizations, or like the American Legion or anything like that? No. Okay.
We have a little farm outside of Hampstead. There's no neighbors. There's nobody bothering you. And me and my wife, even though we're complete opposites, if I see black, she'll see white. So I swear to God, I've been like that for 47 years. You know, but we kind of like stay to ourselves, per se.
Okay. Well, your experiences in the service, and it certainly sounds like you've had a lot of experiences in the service, and particularly Vietnam. Have they influenced you at all relative to your thoughts about war, not war, any of that sort of thing?
The only thing I would say is, and this is based on what's happened since Vietnam was a farce, with them picking targets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Back then, they had a free labor force in draftees. It's like me. I was making $120 a week at C.R. Daniels. Military paid me $65 a month. Okay, so they had us guys at $65 a month. Just toss us out there and use us as cannon fodder. Hope we run into something, lose 2 or 3 guys, and then they could bomb the hell out of them. But they weren't there to win. Okay, so if you're going to do it, get over with. There's no reason in this world to have 58,000 young men dead for an idea. Just no reason for it. Didn't have to be. You know, and like I said, we walked up and down Queensland Valley so many times. You're walking down, you're cleaning them out. Come back, clean them out. Lose 5 guys, 6 guys, you know. So my thoughts on it are, if you're going to do it and get it over with quickly.
From a strategy standpoint, you then believe that it came from something higher than field commanders and things like that. Maybe
poor guys are the poor instant NCOs got out there, the poor instant officers. I mean, that's why I got the map, because I could read it. Okay, well, yeah, God, I got this. another funny Vietnam story, but a guy named was Migley, little round cheeked guy. You could tell when he was young he was chubby, and he was our lieutenant. He wanted to put me in for the Silver Star, which I was shocked that he did that. But anyway, we were. He didn't know any more about war than my grandchildren do. Okay. We were forging the river one time, and like I told you, rucksacks, 100 plus pounds, and two of us are holding the rucksacks. We're tossing them over this forge. We pick up a rucksack, and to where we asked, "Who the hell's rucksack is this?" Says that damn lieutenant. We opened it up, see what he had. All he had in there was fruit cocktail. He had about 6 or 7 cans of fruit cocktail. There was nothing else in there. He was stealing the fruit cocktail out of KFC rations and eating it, little son of a gun. And I say can't say nothing bad about it because he put me in for the Silver Star. But these guys, honestly, they were trying to get what they thought were leaders out there. And they're just running them through instant NCO school or instant officer school, whatever. And didn't get, they weren't getting fighters, weren't getting warriors. Let's put it that way. And I got to say this for almost everybody I serve with, right across the board, except 1 or 2 people. Couldn't have any better people. Couldn't have any better people. If I would have been me shot versus for the Silver Star, I'd had 3 people, 4 people there bail me out. Put their lives on the line. And there's one guy there that should have gotten a medal, because I put him in for it. His name was Charlie Breton. Because when we walked into that ambush, Charlie was off to the left, and we had bullets blowing all over the place. And we didn't have radio. And Booth and them were on the other side of me. And I just yelled over Charlie. I said, "Charlie, can you get back here and get us some help up here?" And he took off running. And he had bullets zinging all around him. But they never, as far as I know, they never gave him a medal. He didn't get nothing for that. So, can't beat the quality of people that were there. I mean, that was unknown or we couldn't say a brotherhood that you could count on them, they could count on you, to the death. You don't find that anywhere. And
that seems to be consistent with like what you see in the movies and everything else. It is a brotherhood, and
you have to live it.
Everybody's protected.
Everybody wants to know, what was it like? I mean, I can't stand people like this idiot out of Massachusetts, Blumenthal, the congressman who lied about his service. Somebody looked like a little weasel to me, and I swear to Christ, I'd like to get my hands on him. Say how I'd like to squeeze his head. He would lie about goddamn serving in Vietnam so he could get political office. I can't stand people like that. I mean, it just turns me.
Well, is there anything that we haven't covered that you think that we should cover relative to your time in service and subsequent to service? Or
no, that's a pretty well covered stuff. I say they came out with the MREs at the tail end of my service, or my year there. We started coming out with the meals ready to eat, which was a blessing in disguise, because I remember starting to get chili con carne, beef and rice, chicken and rice, and maybe another one. I think it was 4 of them. That was a real blessing to get them. I mean, even from a weight standpoint, the MREs didn't weigh as much, didn't have to carry as much weight, and have a better meal. The other thing that always made me was we'd be in the middle of the jungle, middle of nowhere, and you'd come up to a little hooch in the jungle, and they'd be selling Cokes. The Army can't get us Coke. Army, we can't get Cokes from the Army. Where does Coke come out in the middle of the jungle? There's no roads. They're like, where do you get this Coke? They're selling us Cokes. I mean, that didn't happen every day, but just enough that you remember it, middle of nowhere, and they got Cokes.
Well, sir, I certainly do appreciate your time, and I certainly do thank you for your service.
Okay, I thank you very much.
Thank
you guys
you.
have a good day. Okay.